There is a kind of power that does not raise its voice, does not rush to defend itself, and does not waste energy in pointless arguments. Nietzsche believed that the strongest individuals are not the ones who speak the loudest, but the ones who understand the invisible dynamics beneath every interaction. They win without announcing their intentions. They influence without forcing their ideas. They dominate a room without needing a single word. Silence, when used consciously, is not emptiness, it is control. It shifts the balance of power instantly. The person who speaks first often reveals their insecurity. The one who reacts emotionally exposes their weaknesses. But the one who observes, the one who listens, the one who remains composed, becomes unpredictable, unreadable, and impossible to manipulate. Most people argue because they need validation. They need to be right. They need to defend their ego. Nietzsche saw this as a trap, a sign of inner disorder. When you stop arguing and start understanding, you rise above the noise. You begin to see what others fail, to notice their motives, their fears, their blind spots, the cracks in their confidence. And once you see these things, you can navigate any situation with strategy instead of emotion. This video is about that silent power. The kind that makes people pay attention without knowing why. The kind that transforms presence into influence. The kind that allows you to outsmart anyone not by overpowering them, but by standing so firmly within yourself that they lose their balance. This is the art Nietzsche understood. And this is the art you are about to learn. Silence has a psychological weight that most people never learn to use. When a person speaks too quickly, too often, or too emotionally, they reveal themselves without realizing it. Their fears slip out through their tone. Their insecurities bleed through their explanations. Their desire to be understood exposes just how badly they need approval. Nietzsche believed that this need to justify oneself is a form of weakness, a sign that the individual has not yet mastered their own mind. Words can be tools, but they can also be leaks. Every sentence you rush to deliver gives the other person more information about you. How confident you are, how anxious you feel, how stable or unstable you might be. Silence, on the other hand, conceals everything. It creates an imbalance because humans naturally fear what they cannot read. When you say nothing, people project their own assumptions onto you. They wonder what you're thinking, what you're planning, or what you might already know. Their uncertainty becomes your advantage. Presence, the way you stand, breathe, observe, communicates far more than speech ever could. When you let silence stretch, you reclaim authority over the moment. The other person feels pressured to fill it. They begin revealing too much, trying too hard to please, or scrambling to assert themselves. Without lifting a finger, you watch them expose the very weaknesses they hope to hide. Nietzsche understood that the strongest individual in any interaction is the one who remains internally grounded while everyone else reacts impulsively. Silence is not passivity, it is strategy. It forces the world to move around you instead of pushing you to chase after the world. It turns your presence into a question that others feel compelled to answer. And in that space, that quiet, controlled, deliberate pause, influence begins. Nietzsche believed that people reveal their truth long before they speak. Words can be rehearsed, polished, controlled, but the body cannot lie. Every movement, every shift in posture, every flicker of the eyes exposes what a person is trying to hide. If you learn to see these cues, you gain an advantage that feels almost unfair, the ability to understand someone before they even realize they've shown their hand. A person's eyes betray them first. The way they break eye contact too quickly, hold it too long, or dart around the room tells you their level of confidence, their comfort, their fear. Their shoulders reveal tension they pretend not to feel. Their breathing exposes anxiety hidden beneath forced smiles. Their hands, restless or steady, show whether they are grounded or unraveling internally. These signals speak a language far more honest than anything they will say aloud. Most people are too distracted by their own thoughts to notice any of this. They listen only to words, not to energy. But if you shift your attention from what someone says to how they exist in the moment, you begin to read them with a clarity that feels almost instinctual. Nietzsche understood that this awareness turns ordinary interactions into strategic landscapes. You no longer react emotionally. You respond with insight. You no longer argue because you already see where the other person is coming from, their intentions, their insecurities, their desires. And the more you observe, the more predictable people become. Their patterns emerge. Their emotional triggers surface. Their vulnerabilities reveal themselves in micro-expressions. In tiny moments they assume no one notices. When you master the art of reading people, you remove the need for confrontation. You don't overpower them, you outmaneuver them quietly, using knowledge instead of noise. This is how influence begins, not through domination, but through understanding. When you see someone clearly, they can no longer control the interaction. And when they cannot control it, you already win without saying a single word. There is a moment in every interaction when emotions rise, voices tighten, breathing shifts, tension fills the space. Most people react instantly. They defend themselves, explain themselves, or lash out to protect their ego. And in that moment, they lose their power. Nietzsche believed that the individual who controls their emotional state controls the entire dynamic. Composure is not calmness, it is dominance, without aggression. When you remain unshaken, you disrupt the emotional rhythm of the other person. They expect you to react, to mirror their intensity, to fall into the same pattern of emotional chaos they are trapped in. But when you stay still, internally and externally, something inside them destabilizes. Their frustration grows. Their certainty fades. Their emotional outburst becomes a performance without an audience. Without your participation, their power collapses on its own. Most people raise their voice because they feel unheard. They argue because they feel threatened. They exaggerate because they fear looking weak. Your composure takes all of that away. It tells them, without words, that you are not threatened, not intimidated, not emotionally moved. This is the psychological equivalent of standing on higher ground. And from that height, you do not need to fight. You simply wait as their own emotions dismantle their position. The beauty of emotional composure is that it doesn't require force. It requires awareness. You notice the rise of tension without feeding it. You feel the pull of conflict without stepping into it. You let silence soak into the moment until the other person becomes aware of their own discomfort. Their anger feels out of place. Their accusations sound exaggerated. Their confidence begins to crack under the weight of their own intensity. What Nietzsche understood is that the person who manages their inner world becomes untouchable in the outer one. Emotional stability is not just a virtue, it is a weapon. Not a weapon that harms, but a weapon that protects your clarity, your authority, and your sense of self. When you remain unshaken, you become the anchor in the storm, and the storm eventually exhausts itself. This is how you win without arguing, by refusing to be moved. There is a power in pausing that most people never learn to use. In a world obsessed with speed, immediate reactions, and constant responses, the act of waiting becomes an anomaly, and Nietzsche understood that anomalies always draw power. When you pause deliberately, even for a second, You create a break in the rhythm of the conversation. That break forces the other person to confront their own thoughts instead of hiding behind rapid speech or emotional momentum. A pause is not silence. It is presence. It is a moment where you step out of the emotional current and re-enter the interaction with clarity instead of impulse. When someone expects you to react instantly, your hesitation makes them question their assumptions. They wonder what you're thinking, what you've noticed, what you might say next. That uncertainty unsettles them, because most people rely on predictable emotional responses to maintain control. The pause creates space, and in that space, the other person reveals more than you ever could by interrupting them. They begin to fill the silence with explanations, justifications, or corrections. They expose their insecurities, their intentions, and their weaknesses without realizing it. Every extra word they offer becomes information you can use, and every second you remain still deepens their internal discomfort. Pausing also protects you. It prevents you from speaking impulsively, from defending yourself unnecessarily, from being manipulated into emotional reactions that do not belong to you. It gives your mind a moment to breathe, to observe the entire situation from above rather than from inside the chaos. Nietzsche believed that the strongest minds are the ones that can withstand the pressure of the moment without collapsing into automatic behavior. Stillness is a form of psychological elevation. When you pause, you rise above the emotional noise of the exchange. The other person may push, pressure, or provoke, but their efforts fall flat when they cannot destabilize you. Your deliberate silence becomes the weight in the room, the force that bends the interaction in your direction. The pause is not weakness. It is calculation. It is the ability to choose your moment instead of surrendering to theirs. And in that choice, you gain control not through dominance, but through mastery of yourself. Every room has a pulse, a subtle mix of emotions, intentions, and unspoken hierarchies. Most people walk into a room and adapt to that energy instantly. They adjust their tone, their posture, their behavior, all without realizing they have surrendered their internal balance to the environment. Nietzsche believed that true influence begins when you reverse this dynamic, when you bring your own energy so strongly and so calmly that the room adjusts to you instead. Mastering the energy of a room has nothing to do with dominance and everything to do with presence. When you walk in with a grounded, composed, self-contained energy, people sense it before you speak. Your posture carries clarity, your silence carries weight, your movement carries intention. You are not rushing to fit in, not trying to impress, not seeking approval, and that alone creates a gravitational pull around you. People unconsciously look toward the person who appears the least affected by the environment. They trust the one who is consistent, stable, and emotionally neutral. Even without speaking, you set the emotional temperature. If you are calm, others become calmer. If you are confident, others feel safe. If you are centered, the room naturally shifts around that center. The key is self-containment. You do not absorb the anxiety, excitement, or chaos around you. You observe it without participating in it. You stand as if you are rooted in something deeper, your own values, your own awareness, your own internal world. That inner solidity creates a subtle hierarchy, not through force, but through subtle psychological influence. This is how you outsmart others without confrontation. You make them react to your stillness, your silence, your calm authority. They adjust their tone. They grow more careful with their words. They moderate their behavior, not because you ask them to, but because they feel your presence shaping the space. Nietzsche understood that power is rarely loud. It is quiet, steady, and self-assured. The person who masters the energy of a room does not need to speak to be heard. They do not need to argue to be respected. Their presence is enough, because presence is influence, and influence is the purest form of power. Nietzsche believed that the highest form of power does not come from controlling others, but from mastering yourself so fully that nothing external can disturb your inner world. Self-containment is the point where your emotions, your thoughts, and your impulses fall under your command. It is the ability to stand in any situation without losing the center of who you are. And once you reach that point, you become someone others cannot influence, manipulate, or destabilize. Self-containment starts with the simple recognition that your reactions belong to you and no one else. People may provoke you, challenge you, or attempt to pull you into their emotional storms, but you do not move unless you choose to. You no longer rise to bait, no longer feel the need to defend your ego, no longer feel compelled to prove anything. Your silence becomes intentional. Your decisions become deliberate. Your energy becomes untouchable. This inner stability creates a shift in power that is almost invisible but deeply felt. When someone cannot shake you, they lose psychological leverage. When they cannot predict you, they lose strategic control. When they cannot access your emotions, their attempts to influence you dissolve into nothing. You become a closed system, observing everything, absorbing nothing, acting only from a place of clarity. Nietzsche saw this as the essence of strength, a mind so disciplined that it becomes immune to chaos, a soul so anchored that it cannot be carried away by external forces. This is not coldness, it is sovereignty. It is the refusal to let your identity be shaped by noise, expectations, or pressure. You decide who you are, how you respond, and what deserves your energy. And here is the paradox of self-containment. When you no longer seek power, you naturally gain it. People sense the depth of your stability and instinctively treat you differently. They approach you with caution, respect, even admiration. They measure their words, they soften their tone. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence makes them aware of their own lack of discipline. When you master yourself, you no longer need to outsmart anyone. They outsmart themselves in your presence. They reveal more than they intended. They lose balance while you remain still. They try to dominate the moment, but end up following the rhythm you set, all without you saying a single word. This is the Nietzschean power that changes everything. The silent authority of someone who belongs entirely to themselves. When you reach the point where you no longer feel the need to explain yourself, defend yourself, or rush to prove your worth, something inside you shifts forever. You stop living in reaction to the world and begin living from a place of inner authority. You become someone who can walk into any situation with clarity, presence, and calm, while others lose themselves in noise and emotion. This is the kind of strength that cannot be taught through words alone. It grows in silence, in the moments where you choose observation over impulse, composure over chaos, understanding over confrontation. You begin to realize that the most powerful moves you can make are the ones that require no movement at all, the quiet choices that reveal your mastery, your discipline, and your identity. Nietzsche understood that victory does not always belong to the strongest, but to the most conscious. The person who knows themselves deeply, who contains their own energy, who refuses to be dragged into the emotional storms of others, becomes unshakable. And once you become unshakable, you no longer need to argue to win. Your silence speaks for you. Your presence shapes the moment. Your restraint becomes the proof of your strength. You have learned how power moves beneath the surface of words, how influence flows through stillness, and how control begins within. Carry this with you into your conversations, your relationships, your conflicts, and your moments of uncertainty. Let your silence be deliberate. Let your composure be your shield. Let your inner stability be the force that guides you. Because when you master yourself, the world adjusts. If this message spoke to something deep within you, take a moment to reflect on it before you go. Ask yourself where you've been giving away your power, where you've reacted instead of observed, and where silence could have protected your strength. If you want more content that teaches you how to master your mind, read people clearly, and influence without force, make sure to subscribe and stay connected. Your journey into silent mastery is only beginning, and you don't have to walk it alone.